got it that time, Kevin. I got it that time. Let's start her up. Let's do this. In the bottom left-hand corner. From the team Acer, currently down their team is 0-1. He's going to try to be bringing it back here. Sporting the blue, maybe wearing the green. He is MMA. The top right-hand corner, his opponent from Dream Team Gaming, the Protoss player who just secured the first victory for his team. Guys, give it up for Sickness.
That is a... If you didn't know anything about the teams, that'd be a very confusing tag to have to read. Dream Team Gaming partnered with INF. So INF, Dream Team Gaming, NA, generic account. Very confusing, though.
It's all the capitals and lower cases.
And I know we talked about this the last time that Sickness played, but he's always a fan of walling off against Terran players. So he does it all the time. That's his go-to, and no surprise to see that here on Entomb Valley as well.
So as things do get started, you know, I've actually had some lengthy discussions about this map in TVP with Mr. Dan Show, Frodam. We had a little bit of a disagreement on who's a little favored in this on this map. More particularly in like, you know, not necessarily like the early game stuff, because of course it's easy to like hide your proxy structures and things, but more in like the 2 base and taking that third and holding down on 3 bases. What are your thoughts, Kev? Because, you know, this is a really interesting map when it comes to things like, well, Blink, but then also Viking positioning. You know, there's a lot of cliff edges and areas you can't necessarily walk.
That's true, and despite how leading you were with your question right there at the end, no, I'm joking. I was just
trying to give a starting point, because there's actually a ton.
No, I can tell which side of the argument you come down on.
Oh,
no,
can
I'm joking. In this particular matchup, you don't see a ton of matches here. Usually they involve Zerg players, and usually they're picked whenever Protoss players get called in against Zerg players to try and outlast them. But in this matchup, I don't know. If we're talking about MMA versus Sickness, both are prone to doing something that's really, really weird. We're not going to see I don't think at least we're going to see a traditional, let's build up, I'm going to go 5 barracks, the 3 command centers, float that over eventually, and we'll eventually play a long bio game versus Colossi, because that's going to get Sickness in trouble. I think he's going to rely on something a little bit trickier towards the mid game. And that's where I think that Protoss can really shine here, because Terran players, they have, of course, the ability to be able to bunker up a little bit, but they're a little less mobile against Sickness's style, which is going usually to involve warp prisms or something like that.
Yeah.
Try and attack in multiple places at once while simultaneously blinking or warping inside of the natural, and I think that's what could get MMA in trouble.
That's a really interesting point, more catering it towards the players' playstyles here, of course, and really pointing out how Sickness likes to play his TVP.
Now, of course, after all that being said, what are we going to see? Probably just 5 barracks, 3 command centers, and then Colossus, 3 base Colossus, and then just duke it out somewhere.
See, I'm actually, one of the reasons I actually like this map for Protoss, Kevin,
yeah,
believe it or not, is I love the Storm on this map just so much. You know, Colossi can have a pretty difficult time. There's just a lot of great places to strike with. And wouldn't you know, I was saying on that, actually, I can go back to this. It can be very difficult for Protoss to be able to engage Terran, however, on this map.
Yes.
Ranged units, if we go down to like the natural ramp and you take a look in between the natural and the third, this is just such a difficult area to assault when there is a ton of bioforces sitting at the top. Any units that like come into that concave area or anything in between the second and the third just get obliterated from both sides. It can be very, very difficult. It's basically like Helm's Deep miniaturized.
And believe it or not, I actually have the same sentiments. But if a Protoss player stays very defensive, I think, on this map, we'll actually take a look at this here real quick. As a Stalker and a Zealot poking up to the front. Sickness doing a nice job microing around it, you know, MMA right back at you. He ends up losing 1 SEV, 1 Marine there, and killing 1 Zealot in return, but of course does significantly damage that Stalker, so maybe MMA coming out with a little bit of an advantage. But I agree with you. If a Protoss player stays defensive, they utilize their AoEs whenever bio players are running into them, that's when they're at their strongest. But when they try to get out on the map, and Terran players do a nice job to pushing them like to these bases and things like that, so their army's kind of all clumped up here, Vikings up here cannot be touched in any way, shape, or form, and it's so easy to pick off Colossi.
You're completely right. So it looks like, though, that MMA MMA right now, he wants to play a more defensive style of game because, Kevin, you were talking about, that stalker and how much damage it took, and we just actually see he's moving it around right now trying to push it back. Map control is just such an important factor in this matchup. It's so it's pivotal to what happens in the mid stages of the game. And right now, Sickness has that map control. He's out there with that very, very damaged stalker. MMA kind of cooped up in his base, and I'm really surprised he hasn't gone and seized it back because he definitely had the ability to. Yeah,
but remember what I talked about? Sickness doesn't like playing those conventional games. That's what we're seeing here. He went for a quick 3-gate. Yes, he has the expansion coming down, but MMA was searching around there for a while. Where's your Nexus? Where's your Nexus? And we're going to see about a 7-minute warp in here with a lot of units. You can already see he's pulling a bunch across the map. MMA kind of has an inkling of this. Second bunker coming down, and that could be his saving grace. He absolutely needs that. Thankfully for him, too, he decided to not just go for the 2 barracks version of the expand and then quickly tech up or go to upgrades. He's producing 3 Marines at a time. He's going to have a lot of stuff, but will it be enough to stop this aggressive 3-gate?
Yeah, we're about to find out. Now, he has finished his engineering bay and started +1. So behind this, he's got a lot of things going for him if we see all that tech being produced, while Sickness has nothing. But it all comes down to this push. If Sickness can make it happen here, none of that's going to matter because this game is going to end.
Oh, and the bunker just finishes as the last hit ends up killing the SEV, and that bunker surviving is a big deal. Yes, MMA could have brought over more SEVs and stopped it, but that could have given Sickness the thing that he needed to start charging up the ramp and going around the side of the only bunker that was constructed. So very, very fortunate there for MMA.
And now he's in a great position with Stim +1, a starport. His factory's finished. He's going to have reactored starport here in just a second. We can see Sickness is starting to transition out of this aggression. Even though he's got his gateway still being chrono boosted and may go for another push here in just a second, he did drop down a Twilight Council.
And MMA has a really nice choke point here. He's got the 2 supply depots around the side. It's going to force all these Zealots into the middle. Now, most of his Marines do get trapped, and it allows the Zealots to get a very nice engagement there, and it also isolates one of the bunkers, but the other bunker is going to last no problem at all. The sentries and stalkers have to back out.
They do, and a lot of units lost there for Sickness. Not too much damage, I think, for MMA if we can actually pull up the units lost tab.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Overall, okay, so a little bit more lost for Sickness, but not a normally large amount. Either way, though, he invested so much into that attack, Kevin, it should be the other way around.
That's right. And he killed 5 workers, but don't forget, he cut workers a little bit before. In addition, MMA had the earlier 2nd command center, and he's also been double calling down mules. So
that's actually a great point because we almost always see the Protoss player ahead in workers because of chrono boost. In this situation, MMA at 45, Sickness at just 40. MMA has the mules on top of that, Kevin. So chrono boost aside, he used it on the gateways instead of on the Nexus, and now has fallen behind in workers.
All right. Well, Templar Archives out of this. Let's see if we get that charge and some Storm. Maybe started here in just a bit. In any case, MMA just very, very good with his building placement. Drops down the factory. Salvages his bunkers, though. He's feeling confident. He feels he's repelled this attack, and it's time to move out on the map. We can see that he still doesn't have too much of an idea. Whoa, sorry, a little bit of there. So a temporary 10-second delay to what you were taking a look at before, but we're back on it. And MMA is going to start positioning out on the map.
Hey, we've talked a lot about time travel today, so it's pretty appropriate. Guys,
that's right.
MMA, we actually have it's been 3 or 4 references. It's so awkward. I don't know why we're talking about tribe travel. It's impossible.
Well,
it's impossible, Kevin.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Unless... movie quote, but I couldn't tell you what it's from. Yep, I am that bad with movies.
Everyone at this moment, all tweet him what the movie is. Make him feel bad about himself. I'm sorry, he's at Kibbles,
Please
by
don't.
the way. Anyway.
Relentless.
Looks like...
I will say I remembered the name of the movie the other day that I couldn't remember. It's called Primer. It is a movie about time travel. It is awesome. Someone actually tweeted at me and helped me out, but I remembered it actually, I think I remember when they saw their tweet. Guys, MMA's got Stim. He's out on the map. It's looking pretty scary. Sickness, however, did go for that very fast Storm. And here's why I love Storm, Kevin. Because you cannot move up a ramp with your bioforces when your opponent has Storm. It's not possible.
But you can do this. Looks like MMA is going to drop around the side, but look at that. There's already a welcome party there for him.
They got
and yeah, he's actually
party favors.
And
all left over from the new year.
And lots of swords, laser swords.
Those aren't party favors.
No, maybe they are.
Murder weapons. I'm good at Clue, Kevin.
That's right.
StarCraft edition. Zealot blade. Photon.
Mr. Purple in the Entomb Valley with the laser sword. Well, MMA, he's got a lot of units out on the map. He's not gone to a third command center yet, to the best of my... Oh, yeah, no, he has. I apologize. He's actually producing that right now. Ghost Academy's coming up. He knows that this is some variation of Storm or Charge-Led Archon, something like that. In fact, now he can see that these are still slow Zealots, so that should clue him in that Storm was what was researched absolutely first. High Templar are starting to move out on the map, and this is where it gets a little bit dicey for a Protoss player. It's great when you're sitting back at home. You can use those Storms on, like you said, those units running up the ramp, but trying to position yourself forward a little bit, Terrans have some pretty good defensive capabilities too.
They definitely do, and I mean, they really, really do. In fact, I think maybe even in some circumstances, at some timings, looking at what Sickness has got, he's not, I mean, this is so difficult to break. I don't want to say he's not going to be able to, but, you know, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. MMA can spread his forces out incredibly thin along these ramps, and they can all work in a concerted effort to defend, but they don't have to be in a clumped up ball, and that just makes Storm so much less effective.
And as we can see, you know, MMA has his next command center done, and he's just trying to make sure that he can defend an attack before he positions it out on the map. And Cygnus is on 8 gate, just 2 bases for now. He's committed a lot of resources into this. It looks like he's trying to clear up. Oh, look at that. A factory actually landed, so MMA is going to delay this Nexus even further. Here comes the attack, but now Cygnus actually has to go through these supply depots before he can even assault the bunkers. Storm's hitting on the left-hand side. They take out a couple of bio units. Those Storms are actually a little bit better. MMA eating a little bit more damage, and the Zealots have actually broken through.
Yeah, oh, nice Storm on the right, doing a ton of damage to that small clump of units. But overall, this is what we were talking about, Kevin. Storm, it's great at defending, but it's not great at being offensive. The Colossi are more effective at being offensive. You're out in the open. The Vikings, you know, it's tougher for them to get in a position, and you can hit nice, thin lines of units. Notice MMA only now balling up his units as he realizes his opponent is low on Storms.
That's right, and scans to see what was at the back. Storms are once again available, but now MMA has essentially broken this, and he's broken this with an extra command center. He's even got a drop off to the left-hand side, which did clean up the pylon and probe that were sitting there, so he has effectively stopped any sort of expansion.
Oh, and a beautiful EMP hits all the sentries and one of the Archons, and the High Templar are going to be hightailing it out of there, but oh, MMA, you know, he's been able to deny this third the whole time. He's taking his third right now, flying it out. He's in a great position from here, Kev.
Oh, yeah, he looks good. And he's about to finish 2-2 upgrades, which is the biggest part, too.
Sickness, he's only got +1 armor, doesn't he?
Yes, that's what I was about to say. 2-2 upgrades to just +1 armor. That is a huge advantage, even when this +1 weapons finishes up here in just a second.
So Sickness effectively able to hold, oh, nice feedback, does get them full medevac, but the supply difference is still 40. And a Storm does land, doing a lot of damage actually to the bio forces.
That was a fantastic Storm.
Yeah.
That actually may stop this for a while until the rest of the medevacs catch up, and indeed it is.
But in this position, MMA with his very large lead, Sickness trying to get aggressive there with the High Templar. I think we've effectively come to decide on this map now that we talked about it before, and now it just happened. So your High Templar, they're great for Protoss defending, but they're just not the best offensive units because Terran has that huge concave so they can thin out their units too much. And I mean, we're really seeing the effect of it now with Sickness very, very far behind. You know, he invested so much into tech, into units, and just not enough into upgrades.
Yeah, and 3-3 is going to be done here for MMA before 2-2 ends up finishing up. So this is a huge advantage for MMA. He has a very large window, about 3 minutes in-game, where he's going to have a 2-upgrade advantage this entire way. Now, there is an observer overhead. So Sickness is going to try and position his forces to greet this, drop down some Storms to ward away those units for a while. Looks like he'd actually queued up a feedback there on top of the Ghosts for a second.
Storm does kill off a couple of Marines, gets those Marauders very, very low. But and the medevacs are low on energy, which is worth noting. Not too much sustain here with MMA's army.
He does finally pull up a couple more medevacs, but they're going to work at healing the units that still haven't received anything from the earlier medevacs. They'll be out of energy, too. Now, the Nexus does finish up for Sickness. He's finally on 3 bases. Looks like MMA is content to be on just 3 himself, although he's getting very low of his main and natural.
Nice spotting of these medevacs heading around the side. And we actually see Sickness warping in some units, but the army of MMA is coming to deal with them.
Yeah, and it looks like he's going to chase this down. Those little Zealot run-bys not really going to do anything. Just a small group of forces that are queued up to the front so they can do a bit of additional damage. Good kiting from MMA to keep most of those alive, too. Good work.
Yeah, very, very nice job being extremely responsible and catching all of the harassment opportunities that Sickness has been trying to go for throughout this game. Not much success in that department.
So we mentioned before, Protoss have a very good ability to defend on this map, and that's the reason that MMA's not, yes, he has a big advantage, a really big advantage, almost an indestructible advantage unless he throws it away. And that's precisely what he doesn't want to do, throw his advantage away. So he's not just going to bull rush his way up the ramp when he's not prepared, he's making sure he has the right unit composition, he has the right kind of attacks.
And 3-3, which is getting ready to finish here in just a second. MMA, his army is going to be incredibly powerful with the completion of this upgrade. However, at the same time, Sickness is going to be completing +2 armor and extended thermal lances with this, and there are no Vikings on the field for MMA right now.
And a good storm actually catches, well, the second one whiffed, but the first one was pretty good, caught a lot of units. Here comes the Ghost Task Force, all cloaking up, all full energy, and I don't see any observers overhead. Oh, EMPs hit every one of the Templar and all of the sentries. There's no energy left on this army whatsoever, and that's MMA's cue to go.
All right, well, the Colossi have the potential to deal tons of damage regardless of the health on Sickness's units, but we see his supply just plummeting far too fast here as those units had no shield, no upgrades to the 3-3 Marine Marauder Medevac Ball of MMA, and he is going to tear through the remnants here of Sickness's army.
GG. Acer takes game number 2. MMA ties it up. And we have a tie set here, so good work. I mean, that was just perfect unit placement with the Ghosts. A great little small 4 Ghost Task Force won him the game there in the end. Yes, he had the advantage, of course, but he couldn't run up unless something like that had happened.
Yeah, I mean, the upgrade advantage for MMA was astoundingly large, and you compound that with those excellent EMPs that just reduced Sickness's army to nothing but armor and health. Like, there's a Protoss need their shields, man. They need them.
Well, coming up next for Dream Team Gaming is going to be Scar, a player that we've actually featured many times on this show. So we'll see how he can do. Another PVT, actually, against MMA. We're going to run to a commercial break, and when we get back, it'll be game number 3 between Dream Team Gaming and Acer.